Everybody, thanks for all the engagement. My purpose is to leave a legacy by positively impacting people. February 1st, 2017, trying to get a little more detail on some of the things that I can say as I think about my day and being cognizant that people are going to find value if I can leave a little bit more detail on what's going on. So one of the first things is from a family standpoint, this day was all about appointments. You had to drive 2.5 hours down to Madison, have some appointments with one of the members of my family. And that's all it was. I mean, it went to one specialist, went to another specialist, grabbed some Chinese food there in the middle. And so for me, on a family side, try to be able to break that up by having fun. So going out to eat, to me, is a way to be able to kind of mix that up and be able to not make it be totally surrounded by just the appointments and the ambiguity of the diagnosis, the process of getting poked and prodded and all those things. And then for me, from a standpoint of keeping my head right when it comes to work, is that being able to just shut that off, right? So oftentimes we deal with certain things in our lives. We can't really pick and choose what's going to be happening in our lives. And so especially when it comes to health things that's beyond our control, when it comes to family and things like that, it becomes necessary to be able to say that's where that's going to stay, and I'm going to then focus on business and work and keep that in the forefront of my mind. At the same time, don't mix it, right? So when I'm there having the appointments, had to let a bunch of phone calls go to voicemail. I'm not pulling out my laptop, looking at work emails. And I'm keeping my phone. I returned a few texts to friends and family that are checking in, seeing how everything's going, and then return back phone calls to make sure that everything is going well on the family side. The young boys that we have, making sure that they're doing good. And then the other thing that comes to mind is that I did really quickly as things were happening today. Had some time. I opened up another Instagram mainly for marketing on K-Sport Financial, focusing on changing the narrative about how professional athletes leave their career totally broke, bankrupt broke. And so what we want to be able to do is focus on helping those athletes leave with wealth and leave with knowledge. So oftentimes a lot of them start getting asked to invest in their buddies or friends' restaurants or other businesses. And so trying to help them be more business savvy instead of giving out charity, giving out investments. And so making those individuals go through some loops, teaching these athletes, remember, because they're young. I think sometimes we forget that how young these individuals are. If they finish college, they're probably about 21, 20, not maybe 22, 23. But if they didn't finish college, a lot of times they're in their 19, 20 years old. And so all of a sudden they have, heck, even if they're just on the low totem pole of income, a lot of times they're pulling in some serious six figures. And so from going from zero to all of a sudden that income becomes very difficult just to be able to handle, the cell phone bills. And if now all of a sudden you're covering, 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 different lines, all of a sudden that cell phone bill can get out of control. You're paying for a bunch of cable. Typically you got 200 channels that you never watch because you're out working anyway and practicing your crafts. And so I want to be able to focus in on that. And then I had read somewhere that the top 5%, and I think in the NFL, make 95% of the income. And so for me, I want to focus on that 90% that aren't getting the attention because everyone's already going after the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rodgers and the Russell Wilsons. I want to focus on those individuals that are, the kickers, the placeholders, people that'll have maybe 15, 20 years in a career, but we don't necessarily hear their names because they're doing something that's not necessarily put them in the spotlight, but they're definitely great athletes and they're going to be pulling in, $400,000, $500,000 a year. They can definitely get some really good advice and make that an income last for a lifetime. And so that's one of the things that a partner and I had started. His name is Kelton. So we want to be able to have this K-Sports Financial to be able to start engaging with the athletes and having a voice for them to be able to hear our advice. Again, the value for us is just to give out that financial advice for free. And then if they find value in us, then to hire us as their financial advisors, where then we can take control over their insurance and financial investments. And so back at home and got a bunch of Gary V teas. So excited to open that up. Check it out.